We often get to see Stewie planning evil and sometimes punishing other people, but in some rare cases, Stewie Griffin has been the victim. Here are 10 of those rare but hilarious times Stewie was the victim in Family Guy. We begin with the episode, Herpes and Love Sore. After watching a scene from a movie where the characters swap blood to become what they describe as blood brothers, Brian and Stewie decide to become blood brothers themselves.
Okay, your turn.
I think we should hold hands more often.
There you go. We're blood brothers now. You happy?
Actually, yes. I mean, I really feel the bond, Brian.
To make sure that he isn't being cheated on, Stewie has a question for Brian.
Hey, are you blood brothers with Meg because you ate her tampon out of the trash?
No, that's something else.
It seems as though used tampons are a rare dog delicacy. The next morning, Stewie wakes up to discover that there are consequences to being blood brothers with a dog, and one of them is being infected with herpes.
You gave me herpes!
What? What are you talking about?
When we swapped blood! Look at my lip! It's a disgusting herpes sore!
Maybe you should have thought about that before swapping blood with a dog. Now, absolutely mad at Brian, Stewie goes on a sporadic rant.
You knew you had herpes and you still agreed to swap blood with me!
Look, relax. It's not that big a deal.
The next day, Stewie goes to daycare wearing a disguise, but since it's against school policy, his teacher takes it off. And let's just say the entire class didn't like his new look.
Oh my God! Your mouth looks like the underside of a boat!
In a shocking twist, Chris reveals that he's got herpes, which he contracted during the process of becoming blood brothers with Brian.
Not only that, but I also got it from Brian. We're blood brothers too.
What's wrong with the Griffin boys? Why do they all feel the need to be blood brothers with their dog? Well, they aren't exactly the smartest bunch.
Well, we need to teach him a lesson. He's a menace.
To get back at Brian for giving them herpes, they begin by first crashing his date.
Yes, thank you. We'll take the table in the corner next to the herpes dog.
Oh, hey, Brian. And who's your date?
Ew! I'm sorry, Brian. I've got to go.
Next, they ruin his Facebook profile.
Stewie! Chris!
Yes, Brian?
You hacked my Facebook account!
Oh, yes, we actually just changed your profile picture.
Ah, damn it! Look, enough, okay? What the hell do you guys want from me?
Well, maybe try not to be such a self-centered, egotistical dog. During Winter in Quahog, Stewie decides to build a snowman when Brian plays a fast trick on the naive toddler.
Hey, check it out. Lemon snow.
What?
Yeah, that stuff's delicious.
Lemon snow?
Well, let's all pretend we don't know Brian's baiting Stewie to taste his urine. Oh.
Ah! That's not lemon!
No, it's not.
Poor Stewie. By now he should know that Brian's not one to be trusted. Meanwhile, Stewie's streak of bad luck continues as his grandfather comes to take him for the weekend. That should be a good thing, right? Well, not in this case. On their way, Carter falls asleep while driving. Stewie's attempt to alert his grandma to the oncoming danger falls on deaf ears, mostly because she doesn't understand a word he says. But more than that, she wasn't really paying attention to him because she had more important things to do. Important things like knitting.
Hey, wake up! Wake up! You, lady, wake him up!
What happened?
Where are my knitting needles?
Eventually, they end up in an accident, and Stewie ends up with accidental earrings. That's if his grandma's knitting needles qualify as jewelry.
Dude, bad news. You're dead.
The fact that she was more concerned about her knitting needles than the baby in the backseat shows just how much his grandparents care about Stewie. Such a loving family. In the episode Stu and Stewie's Excellent Adventure, we see Stewie involved in a rather confusing conversation with his future self, as his future self called Stu tries to convince Stewie that he is exactly what he would grow up to become.
You're me from the future? That's absurd. I'm afraid it's true, Stewie.
Glad to know that Stewie hasn't abandoned his world domination agenda. After failing to satisfactorily answer any of Stewie's endless questions, Stu travels back to the future, but Stewie joins him in the journey.
This is the future. Wait a minute. Everything looks the same.
Well, it turns out that the future isn't as exciting as Stewie thought it would be. In fact, he is completely disappointed.
Oh, this is nothing like I imagined. I thought the future would be different, with jetpacks, eco-domes, and TV they can beam right into your head.
I kind of thought so too. Well, maybe like you, my expectations were just too high. Now, trapped with this annoying companion, Stu takes Stewie to the family house and introduces him as...
This is, Pablo, a child from Nicaragua that I've been sponsoring.
Such a nice gesture. Never knew Stewie could be this charitable. So back to the house, everything and everyone looks different, except Peter's clothes. Seems like he's been wearing the same clothes for 30 good years. Unbelievable. Meanwhile, Meg looks completely transformed.
Who is that fellow? He looks so familiar. It's Meg. She had a sex change right after college.
Speaking of Brian, we find out that 30 years later, the dog's no more. Moving on, Stu takes Stewie to his apartment, which is more like a junkyard.
Let me introduce my roommate. Did you just make a fart joke?
Yeah, Stewie, we are equally disappointed. Thought by now you would have achieved more. Not only is this apartment a mess, but 30 years later, Stu is still attached to his Rupert. But that's not all. Stewie's disappointment continues as he finds out that at 30 plus, he is not only a loser, he's still a virgin.
Stewie, I've never slept with any woman. I've never had sex.
I did have high hopes for Stewie. Glad his younger self shares the same sentiment.
All right, that's it. I could handle the crappy apartment and the pedestrian job, but now you're telling me I'm a 35-year-old Parade magazine reading virgin?
As promised, Stewie takes it upon himself to fix Stu's disorganized life, including trying to get him laid. That should do his confidence a whole lot of good if it works out. Unfortunately, he messes it up badly.
I'm sorry, that's never happened to me before.
Which part? The 8 seconds of sex or the 40 minutes of crying?
Now, that's embarrassing. To make things even worse, Stu loses his job.
You know, intra-office sex is prohibited, regardless of how hilariously brief and unsatisfying it was. You're fired.
Well, if you thought Stu's fortunes were about to take a turn for the better, then maybe think again.
Good Lord, my apartment!
All thanks to Stewie. Stewie loses everything in one day, his house, his job, and his dignity. What a day. So after a conversation where Stu tells him about their near-death experience 20 years ago, that could be blamed for him being the failure he has grown up to be, they both decide that the best thing to do would be to send Stewie back to the past to right his wrongs.
I must return to the past to ensure that I never have the close call with that lifeguard tower in the first place.
Stewie arrives just in time to save himself from the near-death experience. But when he fails to answer young Stewie's questions satisfactorily, he gets vaporized.
Well, then you're as disposable as she is.
Now, that's cold. On December 31st, 1999, as Quahog prepares for the new year and the millennium, some residents start to fear that the world was coming to an end.
There won't be any other time. The world is going to end at midnight tonight.
Peter becomes so worried about the end of the world that he locks the entire family in the basement. But that's not all. He forces them to wear hazmat suits. Now, they look like a group of trainee astronauts.
Oh, dear me. Yes, this is how I wanted to enter the new millennium.
And shame on you, Peter, scaring the kids with your nuclear holocaust nonsense.
I think he's just trying to look out for his family. As predicted by the weird-looking man in a chicken suit, a few seconds after midnight, the worldwide nuclear attack begins as missiles begin to launch themselves. Peter was right after all. Lois might need to apologize to him.
We were wrong about the end of the world and you were right. Can we please just drop it?
Thanks to Peter's warnings and his strict measures, they not only survive, they all make it out without being mutated like Quagmire and Cleveland. With the family out of food, they drive out of town in search of Natick, Massachusetts, where Peter believes they could find supplies. On their way to Natick, they run out of gas and are forced to walk the remaining part of the way. While walking, a frustrated Lois leaves Stewie unattended to, and the ill-tempered toddler trips into nuclear waste and the effects are severe.
Did you wash your tentacles, my big handsome boy?
The devil are you talking about, handsome? I'm repugnant. I'm a radio-bloody-active freak.
You are not so far from the truth, my little friend. In the episode, Peter's Def Jam, Lois develops an allergic reaction, and Chris immediately accuses Brian of being the cause. Well, since the dog is the easy target, then why not heap the blame on him?
Brian, maybe you shouldn't sleep in our bedroom for a little while.
What?
With that, Lois boots Brian out of his usual resting place, suggesting that he move in with Stewie, because when the grown-ups talk, nobody cares what Stewie has to say.
Brian, maybe you shouldn't sleep in our bedroom for a little while.
Brian moves into Stewie's room. His new roommate is surprisingly excited to have him. He even has a few suggestions on how they can kickstart their new partnership.
Hey, what are we gonna do tonight? Oh, maybe we should watch that movie about Freud where Michael Fassbender repeatedly spanks Keira Knightley to orgasm.
You saw that movie?
I saw that scene.
I don't think such a movie is appropriate for kids. Moving on, the new roommates quickly settle down to some board games.
Scoop someone's urine from Starbucks toilet to pass drug test.
Maybe Brian is a bad influence on Stewie. Don't you think so too? I bet you do. But soon enough, Stewie's room starts becoming as messy as a junkyard. Plus, Brian begins to overstep his boundaries. Barely a week into moving in with Stewie, Brian is already welcoming visitors, and his host isn't so pleased.
Go away, Flea! You're not welcome here! And put on a shirt, you're 50!
Actually, 54.
The audacity. Wow, this is interesting.
Well, it's not your room anymore. It's our room. Lois said so, and I'm not leaving.
Guess he is tired of being Mr. Nice Guy. Well, that also means Brian needs to take his hygiene more seriously. With Brian refusing to move out of his room, Stewie decides to be creative.
I can't sleep with that monster in here.
That's the idea. I want you out.
Stewie's audacious quit notice ends in a fight as his tenant refuses to vacate the room. But unfortunately for both of them, before things escalate, Lois steps in to inform Brian that he could move back into their room. Well, it would have been nice to watch their brawl. Don't you think so? When Peter wins the church raffle to spend a week in a fantasy baseball camp at Fenway Park, he chooses Lois as his partner, which means she has to place her baby under the care of one of his irresponsible siblings. Initially, she delegates the responsibility to Brian, but Meg protests against this decision.
Oh, come on, Mom, really? I'm in high school, and you're still putting the dog in charge?
Yeah, we all know that every one of you is unreliable, but at least Brian is the lesser evil. As Meg settles into her new role of supervisor/parent, Stewie decides to let her have a taste of what is to come.
Okay, now you heard Mom say I'm in charge, so I just want to lay a few ground rules.
Yep.
I promise we're gonna have fun.
Hey, by the way, I'm gonna flush your retainer down the toilet.
Thanks, Stewie. She was starting to sound like a presidential candidate canvassing for votes. With Lois gone, Stewie, as Brian predicted, proves to be a handful for Meg. But she's ready for the disrespectful toddler.
You listen to me, you little monster. I take abuse from everybody around here, but I am not.
Meg might as well turn the house into a military barracks. And for once, Stewie genuinely looks sad. One could almost feel pity for him. We all had no idea Meg could be this mean.
Stewie, Lois put Meg in charge, and...
Brian, please, I need help!
I've never seen Stewie this sad. Fed up with Meg's authoritarian rule, Stewie decides to move out of the house. But the outside world isn't exactly kind to stray toddlers.
Ah, everywhere's a nightmare!
Eventually, Stewie realizes that Meg might be mean, but he's a whole lot safer at home than out alone on the streets. So much to Meg's delight, Stewie returns back home. In the episode, 8 Simple Rules for Buying My Teenage Daughter, Meg is saddled with the responsibility of looking after Stewie when Lois and Peter go on a date. But unlike the previous episode, she isn't excited about it. Sensing just how irritated Meg is from having to babysit him, Stewie suggests an easy way out for his teenage sister.
You know, Meg, if you kill yourself now, you'll probably get a full page in the yearbook.
When Lois finally returns back home, Meg lets her know that in the future, she won't be available for babysitting duties. Well, you can't entirely blame her though. Babysitting Stewie is torture.
Finally! Look, Mom, I've had it! I am not babysitting anymore. It's Saturday night. I could be out having a life. Why can't you just hire a real babysitter?
Well, I guess we could do that.
Damn!
That's Peter for you, ever the irresponsible father. But we can all agree that Lois was right. Meg's life is as boring as watching a repeat episode of your least favorite sitcom. With Meg no longer an option, Lois decides to hire a babysitter. But first, she has to interview new candidates.
A gente é ótima com os meninos.
We couldn't run an ad that said no Portuguese, but, no Portuguese.
But as Lois is about to give up on the idea of finding the perfect babysitter, LaDawn walks in. And from Stewie's reaction, you can tell that she's perfect.
Oh, hey, LaDawn. Hey, what's going on? How are you? Yeah. Well, this here? Oh, it's just my package. World keeps on spinning.
I don't think LaDawn will fall for that cheap trick. Stewie absolutely loves LaDawn's company, and you can tell that he already has a crush on her.
Your daddy and I are going to the movies tonight. How would you like LaDawn to babysit?
Yes! Oh, I'm going to wow her tonight, Rupert.
Take it easy, Stewie. She might not feel the same way. And just as predicted, LaDawn, and to Stewie's dismay, arrives with her boyfriend, Jeremy. She has no idea just how obsessed Stewie is with her.
Girlfriend? What kind of sick, twisted game are you playing at?
Stewie sounds a little cranky. I'll put him to bed.
I think Stewie could use some anger management classes. When Stewie walks in on LaDawn and her boyfriend making out, he decides that he's had enough.
All right, that's it. Jeremy must be destroyed.
Coming from Stewie, that's scary. Stewie goes ahead with his twisted little plan to assault Jeremy before throwing him inside the booth of Brian's car. With the boyfriend out of the equation, Stewie proceeds with wooing LaDawn. After all, a heartbroken girl would need comforting.
Stewie, no! That is a bad place to touch, no!
Such a pervert. Now mad at LaDawn for resisting his immoral advances, Stewie decides that it's high time she lost her job as his babysitter. Because if he can't have her, then she shouldn't care for him. His scheme works and LaDawn's fired, but as she leaves, he realizes that he's made a terrible mistake. That serves him right. With Brian almost giving up on his ambition of being a writer after his publisher shreds and returns all the copies of his latest book due to poor sales, Brian, following Stewie's advice, decides to hurriedly write a self-help book after realizing that the #1 book in the country is a self-help book.
Yeah, why not? You know, if people want crap, I'll give them crap.
Welcome to capitalism. And much to his surprise, his new book becomes an instant hit.
You're kidding. I can't believe it. That's the worst thing I've ever written.
Now the author of a bestseller, Brian employs Stewie as his publicist. Stewie, however, becomes mean and arrogant.
Excuse me, there's something on the wall. Now, you have exactly 20 seconds to find us a room with a white sofa, a white table, white hydrangeas, and Fiji water!
Just a little taste of fame, and Stewie thinks he owns the world. At first, Brian's a little skeptical about Stewie's attitude, but soon he joins in, becoming arrogant himself. He even becomes way worse than Stewie.
This is just a phone number.
I know. My phone number.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now, that's gross. Brian even starts to become unnecessarily abusive towards Stewie.
How do you think I feel walking out of the back room of a restaurant and seeing Renee Zellweger eating in the front room of that restaurant?
After verbally abusing Stewie, Brian leaves the terrified baby out on the street alone, refusing to give him a lift to the hotel. To get back on Brian's good side, which at this point is almost impossible to do, Stewie gets him to feature on Real Time with Bill Maher. But even that doesn't fix his attitude. Minutes before the show begins, Brian fires his manager after Stewie makes a minor mistake.
Sorry. I am done with you. Do you hear me? Done. Get out of here now. Brian, please. You're fired.
I think it's safe to say that Stewie has become the biggest victim of Brian's sudden fame. Maybe he shouldn't have helped the dog become a celebrity. Brian goes to pick up Stewie from preschool when he notices just how unkempt Stewie is at the close of school. And trust Stewie, he has a few tales to tell.
Really? That seems weird.
Yeah, and is it normal that Miss Emily tied us all to the sink while she went out to return a birthday present? She is. Adults are stupid.
The next day, Brian shows up at school and surprisingly, Stewie was right. In fact, things are worse than he actually described. Brian heads out to the back, all determined to confront Stewie's irresponsible teacher. But when he sees her, he forgets all about his "let's make the world a better place" intentions.
Excuse me, are you Miss Emily?
Yeah, hi. Who are you?
Brian.
Oh, yeah. I should probably go back in there, see how everyone's doing, I guess.
We can't totally blame Brian for his change of agenda. Stewie's teacher is hot, so why not? The next day, for some strange reason, well, not so strange, Brian shows up again at Stewie's school, only that this time, he's got all sorts of reasons as to why Miss Emily is the perfect teacher for the kids. Whose side are you on really, Brian? 'Cause it's definitely not Stewie's. Given how many times Stewie has tried to kill his mom, you would think he's been fighting to be independent all along. Later that day, Stewie comes home with his arm dislocated after he was assaulted by his teacher. But Brian, who's more interested in seeing Miss Emily naked, could care less about what happened to Stewie.
I'm gonna tell Mom. Mom! You are not going anywhere. I finally have a date with Miss Emily tomorrow, and I'm not gonna let you or anybody else get in my way until I have seen every inch of her naked. Do you even hear yourself?
Now, Brian's just being selfish. All this because he wants to go on a date with Miss Emily. Brian can't be trusted. In the episode Cop and a Half-Wit, Stewie gets mistaken for a girl at the mall, and the toddler takes it personally. So personally that he launches his own "I'll show them that I'm a man" campaign.
Excuse me, ma'am, your little girl dropped her teddy bear.
What? Little girl? Did she just think I was a girl? Why would she think that?
Looks like Brian is enjoying every bit of this. Meanwhile, Stewie's all set to show that he's a real man.
Only the most manly thing ever. A little something called American football.
No one cares. Knowing that Stewie could end up badly hurt, Brian tries to stop him from getting involved in the game. But when a parent makes fun of his size, Brian decides that maybe Stewie has to prove a point. I don't think Stewie really understood the assignment. When the coach refuses to start Stewie, Brian goes over to influence the lineup.
He's too little. Little? Oh, like that car you drive over there? Let's see if it looks bigger when I throw a Sprite at it.
Now, that's a bad decision, and it would most likely end in disaster. All thanks to Brian's ego and Stewie's desire to prove that he is a man. He ends up a victim. But clearly, it's not such a big secret that he's just a baby. They try to hide his condition from everyone, especially Lois. And in the period, we get to witness the height of Chris's stupidity.
Lois, answer the bloody phone!
No. We don't need Lois. Chris, pretend to answer the phone.
Hello? Mom, it's for you!
What? No, damn it, Chris!
You see, Stewie hasn't always had it good. In some episodes, he's been the victim. Hope you enjoyed the video. Drop a comment below telling us your favorite episode. Also, like and subscribe to the channel for more adventures in the city of Quahog. Until our next video, take care.